It was over a week ago when Governor Eddie Calvo signed Bill 377 into law. The measure not only provided funding for new tabulation machines for the Guam Election Commission, but approximately $668,000 to pay for prior year's overtime for the Guam Police Department.
A lot of the men and women of the Guam Police Department who worked way beyond the hours appreciate receiving their overtime checks. Last week they received it.
Police Chief Fred Bordalio says in fiscal year 2013, the department was challenged and overtime grew as several officers were on military deployment and several trainings were invested during that time.
And of course, with our mission to make sure that the public remains safe, the employees really work beyond those hours.
Bordalio thanks the efforts of the administration and the Guam legislature in providing the funding for overtime. He says, however, it's not necessarily about the pay, but building morale.
That just really brings up the spirit of the officers to remain dedicated in serving the public.
And while the prior year's overtime was paid, Bordalio says overtime by the end of this fiscal year still needs to be addressed. The matter was initially brought up during session in the Committee of the Whole on the original proposal to pay GPD overtime.
We had about $1.9 million we expected to spend, but we've probably paid over 500-some thousand of that. So we're probably going to need about maybe 700 to 800,000 more in funding estimate. But I don't have the figures, but that's actually what I think estimate we're going to need to cover all the overtime costs for FY14.
He adds while the department always anticipates that officers are going to work beyond their hours as several events, both planned and unplanned, require a lot of police presence, they are trying to be very conscious of its budget.
We're very frugal, and we have to we watch our finances and decide where we're going to juggle some of the priorities when it comes down to some of these expenditures. That's why our management is really very strategic in terms of making sure that they minimize overtime that's not really needed, but at the same time, the overtime that has been expended was for very important purposes.
He hopes the governor and the legislature will once again support GPD in helping pay for overtime. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintanilla.